Today we're going to talk about changing GFCI breakers, why they're needed, and wiring methods for breakers and pool pump motors. So today's service call was for a warranty on this GFCI breaker here. Okay, it was tripping the GFCI. I've tested the circuit and there is not a ground fault within the circuit. So what I've determined is that the GFCI is weak here. Every third or fourth time I go to turn the motor on or off, the GFCI will trip. Ordinarily it'll stay on. So what we're going to do is change that out. Now something before we do that I have noticed is, take a look at this breaker here. See this large box on the back end of it? There is nothing like that on this one here. I've noticed that GE and Eaton brand breakers don't have that extra box on the back of them, and they tend to be weaker and lower quality breakers. And I've had a lot more warranty issues out of those than a Siemens or QO brand that have these larger boxes. So I've already got the breaker wired. Now I just need to swap the old one. So what I'm going to do is pop that one out with a screwdriver. Rather than getting my hand into the panel, I'm simply going to pry out, and I can unclip that. Now, with a little bit of help, I can clip this one in. Okay. Before I do that, one thing that I like to do is I like to add some dielectric grease to my lugs. I do the same thing on the wiring end and on the GFCI terminal. So that's going to get clipped in. Make sure that the switch is in the off position when you do that. Now looking down at the motor, I'm going to talk real briefly about wiring methods for the motor. Previously there was these small electrical connectors on there. Those connectors don't make great conductivity, and you get a much better connection if you use a screw attachment directly on the wire. Now I know that this stranded wire is a little bit difficult to get a good connection without the wire fraying. So what I do is I strip my wire back a little bit further than you might ordinarily think is necessary, and I bend it in a horseshoe shape around the lug. Okay, and then once it's in that horseshoe shape and it protrudes past the end of the screw, I will take a pair of needle nose and just close that horseshoe before tightening it down. What that does, when I go to tighten it down, it won't fray nearly as much as it otherwise would, because the screw is rotating in the path of travel of the wire. It actually grabs the wire and pulls it in more. And I do the same thing for my ground here. So in a nutshell, that's the wiring method I like to use for pool motors. And once I get this breaker clipped in, we'll be ready to go. So now that I've got my breaker in place, it's no longer tripping the GFCI when I turn it on and off.